like we talked about when we were first meeting, I think your brand is sitting in a really unique place during the last 12 months. Um, while some pieces of your business may have had challenges, I think there's other pieces of your business that really took off. And so would love to kick off the conversation really talking about how your business has adapted to consumer needs and the impact that that has had on what you envisioned last year when you were thinking about February of last year. How has that changed based on what the consumer is needing from your brand today?
Yeah, a whole different world, right? This time last year, we were trying to get focus in place. And as a brand, we've always had cooking classes be very central to our business model. It's one of the things that sets us apart in the space and makes us unique. You can come to us to buy a really nice knife, but we'll also have a knife skills class and teach you how to use it. And then offer the content to teach you how to keep the knife sharp. So it's a very 360 customer experience. So obviously, when COVID happened and we had to close down cooking classes, we all went out, on quarantine. Um, we put our BOPUS plans on hold, and then also we're faced with the fact that we didn't have in-person cooking classes for our customers. So one of the early things that we did was pivot on that front and got very, very scrappy, used Zoom, which everyone was learning and adopting at that point in time, and started offering our cooking classes virtually. So came up with an idea for online cooking classes, and literally we're running it, with a chef from his home kitchen. It was super scrappy, but people really responded, and I think it was so timely. So a lot of people were at home needing to cook every single night for the first time. So needing to learn, needing the basics, needing inspiration. So we really just adjusted. And from a messaging standpoint, we tried to be there for our customers and be their partner and support them and help provide content that was useful, menu planning, things like that, knowing that it was a radical new way of life. And then being able to bring the virtual classes forward, I think was really an awesome game changer because people could still stay connected to the core of what was our business. And the interesting thing for that from a business model too is now that we're coming out on the other side and we are opening up class locations again, we have the online model. So if you've always loved Solar Tub as a brand and shopped us online, you now can take a class and it's not tethered to your geographic location. You don't have to have proximity to a cooking school to be able to enjoy the full Solar Tub brand experience. So I think that was really a big thing for us. That's a positive that we've come out with from the post-COVID emergence.
Right. And I think, you even mentioned that families were doing it for Thanksgiving and really, it's not just a connection to your brand, but I think your brand brought connection to families and to people that people were craving during that time as well, which is really amazing, an amazing thing that came out of it.
Yeah,
Um,
we had this really cool sort of marketing message for Thanksgiving that was cooked together apart. Because what we realized was, to your point, people were craving that connection and they still wanted to do things with friends and family. So they were booking online cooking class experiences as a family, and they would get onto as multiple families, right? So each family contingency would get on their Zoom session, take the class. They'd be on the class with other people, but then when the class ended, they'd often hop onto their own family Zoom, and then they'd have this bonding moment where they talked about the class experience and got to eat the food. And they weren't in the same room together, but they were having that communal experience. And I think that's one of the most powerful things for us as a brand, this idea, and it's our brand purpose. It's to create happiness through cooking and sharing good food. So the fact that we're still able to rally people around this cooking and sharing and kind of that sense of community and bonding that food can bring, it was pretty cool that we could still do that.
I love that. I love that. And so obviously that's more on your event side of things. Talk to us a little
Yeah.
bit about the online experience. You talked about having to be scrappy and, work really quickly to pivot and change. What did the online experience look like at the beginning and what does it look like today?
Yeah, I think so. I mentioned that we didn't have BOPUS. So very much for the store experience, there wasn't the ability to go online and order and pick up stuff in store. So we also created a very sort of scrappy curbside pickup experience for the stores, and literally promoted it online on our store locator page as call your local store, they will help you. And this is how it works. You call the store, place your order, you drive up, let them know you're there, and they'll bring the package out to you. I think we weren't alone. A number of people did that. So we did kind of have that sort of mixed model. It wasn't a pure online experience, but it was for the ease of customers needing to still buy stuff because they were cooking more, they needed things in the kitchen, and so they could still do that curbside pickup. From just a site experience, obviously, we had to figure out a way to market and bring the online classes. So our site was built to sell in-person classes at a store location. So there was some work that needed to be done just to overhaul that and make it an easier customer journey to pick an online class. And so we're still working on refining that, because now the messaging is take a solo type cooking class, and there's two ways to take it, either in person or online. So working through that customer journey and just kind of making sure that is easy to understand and flawless to execute. And I think from a content standpoint, so the core business that we were selling, the products we were selling didn't change that much. It's the kitchen things you need. Obviously, we saw different categories that had an increase, like home coffee machines, right? People weren't making coffee at the office, so home coffee became huge. So that's more a site merchandising and figuring out what to bring forward and make it easy for your customer to find it and to get the things they need. But I'd say the supporting messaging from a marketing standpoint is where we saw the biggest differentiator, because again, we realized that people were now faced with the dilemma of I have to feed my family or feed myself every night of the week. So we switched to this mode of how do we help set you up for success? How do we bring, we're almost 50 years old as a brand. We're 49 years old this year. So 49 years of cooking experience. We've got lots of tips and tricks and recipes and ideas. And we've got chefs on our staff who are experts at this. So as a marketing team, we very quickly rallied around how do we leverage this content and just provide a useful roadmap to people so that they feel like they're in this with us as partners, and we can help them with the day-to-day, and not just here's a coffee machine to solve your morning coffee needs, but how do we actually help you feed your family and stay sane and do it in a way that is manageable.
I think the stay sane is the key.
Yeah, right.
But when we were talking before, you mentioned about calling up and having your sales representatives in the store give advice, because I know when I am doing a curbside pickup at Target, one of the things that Target is losing out on is that impulse purchase. But by having that additional touch point with your sales reps in store to be able to talk to someone and give those added suggestions, I think that's another layer that your team has done really well in that connection to your consumer in this time.
Yeah, so we obviously were running this over the holidays, and there were shopping limits on stores, so caps, so people couldn't come into the stores and browse like they normally do. People didn't want to come into the stores and browse like they normally do, I don't think. So it was very much shopping with a purpose, but by having our scrappy curbside, it gave the opportunity for a store associate, when they answered the phone and someone was calling and they needed a gift or they needed something, Thanksgiving, they're prepping, they need a new roaster, to walk them through the things that were available in the store and say, well, if you're getting a roaster, do you have everything else? Do you have your twine? Do you have your basting brush? And at Christmas, if you're buying a gift, hey, we've got some great stocking stuffers. So actually verbally do a bit of an upsell over the phone, which was really good. We definitely saw the benefits from basket size of having that personalized process. I think the opportunity now that we're normalizing, and obviously we're back to figuring out BOPUS and getting BOPUS up online, is how do you lean into other marketing channels to support that and still offer that to customers? So is it SMS? Is it like personalized selling through SMS? What are those other things that you can leverage and bring online to help supplement? Because I think more people are going to be shopping online. The convenience, obviously, of pickup in store is fantastic, or curbside pickup. And people are not always going to call the store and they're going to be shopping online. So how do we let them know what we've got? And then also optimizing your site. How do you optimize the, if you like this, you may also like, in the checkout flow, to give people options and things that they may want to also purchase to add on to their basket. So I think we really kind of have to be looking at those touch points and figuring out how to leverage tech and make that selling experience as similar to what would happen in a store when you have an associate guiding the whole experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think, and like I mentioned, I think you all are sitting in a really unique spot. Many brands today maybe have more challenges than opportunities during this time. So would love for you to give maybe some advice on, what brands and marketers can do to position themselves to succeed in this time. Hopefully we're coming out of this thing, but I think some of the things that we're used to are going to stay. So what is some advice that you can give to other brands that you have done so well?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, and I may be a bit biased because I am a brand marketer, but I think this really holds true, is really understand your why. Know what value you provide for your customers. Why are they coming to you? Why are they shopping you or not shopping you, for that matter? Because I think that can really provide insights on what you can leverage to make sure that you maintain your customer base and even grow it. The second thing is, and you mentioned this, people are doing things differently now. You reach for your device, things have become so much, technology took 10 years of a leap in 1 year. So people are mobile first. So really put yourself in your customer's shoes. It's about, and no matter what size company you are, understanding your customer journey, even if it's one and it's really simple or simple variations on one journey, understanding that journey and putting yourself in your customer's shoes and thinking through the places where they're going to discover you and interact with you, and then figuring out ways to leverage that, simple things like making sure that you're claiming your business on Google. I've seen really interesting things, people even using, social media, Instagram, the swipe to buy. So, like to buy. So there are things that you can do to enhance your selling proposition by being where the customer is and then engaging with them, knowing your why, and finding that as a pathway to kind of keeping your business alive and well.
Yeah. Have you had to adjust your messaging through the pandemic to shift your focus to inform customers of new offerings or inform them of different things like throughout this period?
Yeah, I think for us, the adjustment in message, there were a few sort of small tweaks. I think the biggest adjustment in messaging was letting people know that we had online cooking classes. So that was a biggie, right? I also talked a little bit about just being a resource more than anything else. So we developed this cooks from home idea where we used social to share content on a weekly basis with ideas and inspiration for what you could make that week at home. We actually long before COVID, we have our hashtag make more, and we have our weekly make more challenges. So on social, we come up with an idea, cocktail or pies or something, and we talk about how to make more pies, right? And so we throw the challenge out to our fans and say, hey, share the pies you're making this week with us. So we do a quick roundup at the end of the week and reshare our favorites the next week, so that people can be inspired by what everyone else is doing through our Make More challenge. And I think leveraging Make More and UGC, so having that strong community in place was really a benefit to us. We saw a lot of great response to UGC, and I think being able to put that out there and not only kind of acknowledge the awesome things that our fans and customers were doing, but also use it as a way to inspire other people was a great way to pivot our messaging. And again, it comes back to just knowing that we were a trusted resource, and between the cooking school and then having the products, but also giving you ways to use it. So ways to actually, like I said, figure out those meal plans every week. That was sort of the mix that we found worked really well. And so balancing what we were doing on social with what we were doing in email, and making sure it tied back to the classes we were offering and the products we had on our site. So you really kind of have to take a step back and have a really good holistic go-to-market calendar and look across all the touch points and have cohesive messaging. So I'd say that's another important thing as well, for marketers. No matter your size, make sure that you're looking at things from that 1,000-foot view through a robust go-to-market calendar as well.
Yeah. Had your sales or promotional calendar been impacted or changed through this period? Did you see what was happening on social or these UGC channels and have to pivot quickly?
So the interesting thing for us is, because everyone was cooking from home, the category just exploded. So we were in this really interesting place where we didn't necessarily have to chase into promotions as hard because people were needing the products that we're selling. I think for us, the challenge that we saw more was actually on the supply side. So as we all know, there definitely were supply side issues, still are, and we sell amazing cookware from all around the world. We have Scampan from Denmark, De Meyer from Belgium, and Le Creuset or Stobe from France. So, we're bringing things in from overseas. So there's not only restrictions on our supplier side when factories were closed down, but also getting things here took a bit longer, unloading ships took a bit longer. So just the whole supply chain was really tough, and we're still kind of getting our arms around it and managing through that. So I think that was one of our big challenges, was just getting enough stuff because people really needed things as they were doing more cooking.
Yes, definitely. So switching gears just a little bit is, from your vendor partners. How can your vendors and partners help you be more thoughtful in your media executions? Now that you have this potentially a new customer set, people that are just exploring, how can your vendors and partners help you through this time as you continue to have that conversation with this new customer?
Yeah, I'm really leaning into my vendor partners on the content side. So in a number of ways. The one is understanding the products and helping me do more guided selling, either in social or online, in a very deliberate manner. So if we have a range where or line where we have multiple ranges within the line, what are the differences, and how do I understand as a home cook which line of cookware is the right one for me within a brand? When you come into a store, you have a store associate who can ask you different questions and figure out what you need, non-stick versus stainless steel. So really working with our vendor partners to get great information that we can easily put up on brand pages on the site. Maybe it's a comparison chart, maybe it's a video, to help bring that one-on-one selling moment to life, in this on the site and in our digital channels as much as we can. And then the second, and I keep going back to this, is just again the inspiration. How do we use your cookware, your knives, whatever? Like what do you have for me to help feed that content machine so that I can keep our customers, our fans inspired and keep giving them great ideas, because we have to eat every day. So we have our favorites, but obviously you want to try new stuff. So how do I just keep bringing good ideas and inspirational recipes or hacks or tips forward? And so again, vendor partners are important. They understand their product like no one else, and working closely with them enables you to bring just that level and depth of information to your customer that is really, really helpful in our space, I think.
Are you at a place that you feel like you can be proactive? And I'm sure a lot of last year might have been some reactive. Are you at a place that you feel like you can start being proactive and look forward? How advanced in your planning are you thinking at this point?
Yeah. I think on one level, like I said, we're still dealing with some supply chain issues to an extent. So some of it still is sort of based on, well, what are we getting in? What have we got available to base our marketing efforts on? But we are really working hard to kind of get ahead of ourselves and make sure that we're in a great place for holiday season. I feel like this year you can't start planning for the second half of the year too early. But I think from a reactive standpoint, again, it comes back to messaging a little bit. Last year, we were very much in this place of help, right? I now have to cook at home every night. How do I do it? And I think as we enter the second year and the second phase, hopefully, we'll see. I think it's going to be a little bit more about inspiration. Things are opening back up, but we're still seeing people cook a lot at home. And every bit of research I've seen said that people have found, I think people have discovered they either are better at it than they thought, or they enjoy it more than they thought. And so they plan on cooking at home more than they probably, if you'd asked them a year ago, they probably during the course of the year cooking at home more than they thought they were going to. So now when I look at the opportunities for the year, I look at it more from an inspirational standpoint. It's not so much I have to cook at home, but I want to. So I think the messaging is a little bit different, and how we approach it is a little bit different.
Yeah. When I think inspiration, I think of creative. So maybe
Mhm.
how do you have an in-house creative team? Do you lean on your vendor partners for those executions? Inspiration, I think, especially in digital channels, can come across really nice. I think it's a perfect
Yeah.
medium for that. So do you come up with those concepts? Do you work with your vendors on that? What does that look like in your world?
So we do have an in-house creative team. We have an incredible creative team, and they generate all of our content. We leverage a little bit of vendor content, but I think I go to the vendor community more for the information. So, like I was talking about the comparison charts, give me the inputs, give me all of the information, and then I put it through the creative team to adjust it to the Solar Tub look and feel, the Solar Tub voice, the Solar Tub messaging, and then the outputs, are these beautiful branded Solar Tub pieces. And obviously, for us, we look at it through the lens again of our brand purpose, and just our brand idea of, our brand tagline is make more, gather often. So obviously, during the height of COVID, it was about the make more and maybe virtually gathering often. But it's about celebrating food, really, and celebrating the I think making something is an act of love, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's something simple, making someone a sandwich, or making a 3-course meal. There, you give your time, you give yourself, and it's an act of love. And so that's why food brings us together, and there's such joy in it. And as a brand, we try to celebrate the whole process, the messy part, the successes, even the failures. And so having a creative team that really understands that, and can take all those inputs and then put it through, like I said, through that lens of our brand that just celebrates you as the food creator, and then deliver really beautiful assets that speak to people on an emotional level, because food is very emotional. It really is kind of cool to see what they deliver. I'm always blown away by the work that the team delivers.
Absolutely. I would love for you to look into your crystal ball, and talk to us about your predictions for the industry in 2021. I know you spoke about, Surlatab and moving from the supporting role into that inspiration role. Um, what about the industry in general? Do you think that things are going to come back to the way that they were, or is this the new normal and we're going to move forward in a environment that, you know, curbside is a thing that's here to stay, and, gathering virtually because your family is in one state versus another state, is all of that here to stay, or do you think that there are other things that are coming down that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go back to exactly the way it was. I think, and I don't think it's going to be a complete pendulum swing to the way things were during COVID either. I think things are going to normalize, and it might be somewhere a little close to the middle, where it's a bit of a hybrid. I definitely think the advantages of being able to pick something up at curbside, the inroads in the use of online for purchasing, are not going to go away. So we're still going to see, you know brands and companies needing to be digitally led, and at least a degree of digitally savvy, so they can connect with their customers, because that's where people are. And obviously we'd seen that happening with the fact that we all carry, a phone and device around with us all the time. So that's here to stay. But I think the need for connection, and we saw that surface, throughout the past year. The need for connection is there, and people still want to connect, and a great way to connect is over a drink, is with food. So people are going to find ways to do that. I think as much as they can, people still like to do that in person. But what we've shown is that when there are restrictions, we can do it in a distanced way. And maybe what that might mean is, not maybe as much pressure to feel like you have to go all the way back to see the family for a holiday, so maybe there'll be a little less of that. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe people will just be so pleased that they'll actually embrace the Thanksgiving with it just because they can do it. So it'll be interesting to see if people are in the space of, it's great to gather, but we can also gather digitally, and I'll have my family, my immediate family with me, so that will be interesting. But I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Some of the leaps and bounds we made on the technology side are not going to go away, so don't expect curbside to go away. But we may be a little bit more open to the convenience of a digital happy hour versus spending 45 minutes to drive to a bar to go and meet your friends. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. So I have one last question. You've talked a lot about everything that your team has done in this last year. Do you think COVID 2020, now 2021, has changed who your brand is fundamentally? Like, has it changed your DNA and who you are?
I would say an emphatic no to changing it. If anything, it's just sharpened it and brought it into much clearer focus. Like I said, we've always been about the idea of cooking and sharing and food, and celebrating food in just the glorious spectrum. I already said it, like the hits, the misses. And so I think for us, the recognition that so it's interesting. Not only you have to eat to survive, right? But that eating and sharing food with your family can actually be something enjoyable. And I had a few people say to me that they during COVID and during lockdown, they were really enjoying having a family dinner. And they planned on making that something even post-COVID, like once a week, we're going to gather and have a dinner together as family. So I'm really hoping that those habits stick, that people remember how good it is to sit and interact and bond over food. And so I think that part has kind of changed us. We've realized that relationships and people are important. And so I think for a company that is based around food and about sharing around the table with others, it's, like I said, it's just sharpened our brand connection with our customers and built a stronger sense of community.
Yeah, it hasn't all been bad, right? Like, there are little silver linings.
No, I mean, right.
Yeah, like I think that there really are things that this time allowed us to slow down and appreciate some of those things. So I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
I've upped my cooking game. I can tell you, I'm so proud of some of the stuff that has come out of my kitchen too. It's given me, I think, a space of like, let's experiment and try things that I maybe wouldn't have done before. So if you seek it, you can find the silver linings, I guess, is the lesson, right?
Right. And I think, even taking it one step further, I think people aren't commuting as long. And so it gives them more time to do things like this at home and to cook at home and to explore and, discover, where otherwise maybe they were sitting on a train or sitting in a car and would grab something or have to do something quickly.
You make a great point. Time is such a precious resource, and being able to use that time now to, cooking can be relaxing, to relax while you're cooking or enjoy those moments, those shared moments with your family. I think it's something that we've found. So I hope we find ways to keep being diligent about keeping those special moments, in our lives as we move forward.
Absolutely. I don't see any questions. I don't know. Doesn't look like there's any questions. There are, please.
Hello.
Hello.
What a great conversation. That totally resonated with what I've been going through. Definitely started cooking, definitely invested in some like fancy salts and everything. I love the salt shaker you guys have, not a shaker, the grinder.
Oh yes, the ratchet mill.
And I was like, it's the best. I'm like, I'm saving so much money by not going out. I'm gonna start investing on some really cute stuff for the kitchen. What's the favorite thing you've cooked during quarantine?
Oh my gosh, there have been so many standouts. You know, this is going to sound really silly, but I used to always just cook my pizzas in my oven, cranked on really, really high heat. And what we started doing was cooking them on the grill, and it's a game changer with a pizza stone. So yeah, you know, you get your pizza stone, your pizza peel to get the dough onto the grill, and because it just gets so much hotter on the grill. So that was a game changer. So I think pizza nights, the evolution of pizza nights in our home has been like one of the funnest things. Yeah.
That sounds dangerous. Definitely gonna look into that. We actually have one question from Cassie Miller. She asked, what have been some of your favorite food and beverage products you've seen emerge?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You know, I think I don't know that it's my favorite, but it seems like it's everybody's favorite. And one of the interesting things that I've seen emerge, and it was happening kind of before, but this sort of seems to be, and maybe it's because we're at home every night, so maybe drinking a little more every night, is the whole fortified seltzer thing. So that's been really interesting. Like I look at that and I like a nice glass of wine in the evening, and I'm like, why would you want to drink water with alcohol in it? But it's something that appeals to people, and maybe because we're at home more at night.
It makes people.
So that's been a surprising kind of development for me.
It makes people feel like they're hydrating too. You know, it makes people feel like they're doing right.
I totally agree with that.
I mean, for me personally, at the end of the day, it's a glass of wine, and it's sort of like this ritual. I have my chopping board and my garlic and my onions, and I hone my knife, and then the moment I start the slicing, it's like I feel the day melt away. There's really something almost like meditative and cathartic that happens when you pick up that knife and you've got your glass of red wine and you start going. You know, the music's on. It's a lovely way to end a day.
My husband and I have started to